All right, what is going on, guys? Today, I hate to inform you, but we are going to be talking about kind of a more serious topic. So I hope you guys are ready for a serious one. Of course, I'm sure you guys saw what this video is about. It's kind of a sad situation, and it's a lot to take in for sure. So without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. So Gus Johnson, and I think the girl's name is Sabrina. I could be wrong. I hope I'm not saying it wrong. It was a second since I watched the video. But yeah, Gus Johnson and his girlfriend, essentially, they've ran into a lot of struggles in the past little bit. And yeah, it got crazy. So I kind of want to talk about what went down, kind of maybe clear things up and get my opinions out on them. So yeah, pretty much Gus Johnson and his girlfriend had been dating for a little bit. They started long distance. They eventually ended up in LA. They were living together, I think, or something like that. She was at least spending a lot of time over at his house or something. And, that's cool, right? It's cool in a relationship. All that stuff's, fine, fun, good, whatever. Who doesn't like that stuff? Now, what kind of eventually happened is, they ended up on, conversations over the topic of pregnancy. They're both younger, as am I. So this stuff comes up in relationships. If you're older, maybe it's not that big of a deal. If you have kids of your own, it's definitely not a big deal. But, if you're kind of younger, you could probably relate to this. They had talks of if she ever got pregnant, they would get an abortion, which is a fairly normal conversation. I've had this conversation with people I've dated in the past. I pretty much said, hey, neither one of us are anywhere near ready to do that, especially not together. So, if that does occur, we need to get rid of this thing and we need to have this plan in place, before, just so if it happens, we know what to do. There's not going to be any arguing and we're going to try and get through it as seamlessly as possible, hopefully. Now, obviously, a lot of girls will agree to this because obviously at the time of the conversation, they're thinking, oh yeah, that's a bad situation. I don't want that. That's, yes, definitely. I want to get rid of it. Not even a question. What kind of happened here is it did become a question later on. She eventually did get pregnant and she kind of all of a sudden went into this, well, maybe I want to talk about it. Maybe we don't want to jump on this so quick and, this, that, and that, which is kind of natural. Obviously, if you are a mother and you have kids, I'm sure you understand the feeling. If you are not a mother or if you've ever been pregnant for any period of time, it is kind of normal for the hormones to get to you and make you think, oh shit, I'm growing this thing inside of me. I'm kind of protective over it now. I don't just want to, fucking fling this shit out the window, right? Because it's not ideal. And it really isn't. It's not an ideal situation to come to at all. It's really not an ideal situation for the woman in that position. And that's understandable. I can definitely understand where she's coming from. However, Gus, did apparently say no, we can't have that conversation. We have to go through with it. This would ruin my life. This wouldn't be good. It would be terrible. We couldn't give the kid a good life. It wouldn't be good, which is kind of justified because if you did have these conversations before and you did make those agreements, then it is kind of this makes sense what I'm saying, right? If you're yeah, no, we really can't do this. We talked about this. It's just not, I don't even want to talk about it because we already made this decision, we can't go back on it. Then it's kind of justified, especially with the claims he was making. I guess it was we can't give the kid a good life. It won't work out. And I think he ended up saying he would break up with her if she didn't abort the baby, which is kind of A little harsh for sure. Don't get me wrong. But it's not the craziest shit you could have said. If he breaks up, like, yeah, that's kind of a shitty boyfriend thing to do if you were emotional and kept the baby. But at the same time, he does have kind of valid reasons for why that's not going to work out for him, and that would really fuck him up a little bit. So it gets a lot deeper, though. Eventually, she would go to try and abort the baby. It didn't work out. They couldn't see anything despite it being like a couple weeks. So, it should have been possible, but it wasn't. Eventually they told her to come back. She went back. There wasn't anything, yada, yada, yada. She started feeling pain. She was having to go to the doctors occasionally. And, I guess Gus was kind of keeping up with this, but not fully. Which it's kind of a hard thing to do, to deal with somebody's medical issues in a relationship. It's not the easiest thing to do. This is coming from me, who has a lot of medical issues myself. I am going to the doctor fairly frequently, or, at least once a year, stuff like that. And, getting evaluations and taking a look, and sometimes things are worse, and that's hard on a relationship. It strains a relationship. And I've also dated people with medical issues, and it's hard. It's definitely difficult to deal with, especially when you don't know a lot about them, or especially if they aren't really diagnosed yet and you're trying to figure out what's wrong. It's definitely stressful. So Gus was, trying, but it's obviously really hard at the end of the day, and it wasn't working out great. I think he kind of probably got a little pissed, which is understandable. But, moving forward, it turns out that all of this pain and stuff, she literally thought she was dying and stuff like that. It came to light that she had an ectopic pregnancy. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically when you get pregnant, but the egg gets like stuck in a fallopian tube or something. So, it basically exploded, for her, one side. So obviously a lot of pain, internal bleeding, stuff like that. So the big deal when she eventually had to go and get that dealt with was he, I guess, was doing work. Obviously, he's a content creator, so he said, I have some work to do with some people. I'm doing work. I can't really come to the hospital at the minute, and, you'll probably be all right, and, we're going to get drinks and food afterwards at a restaurant. I'll see you eventually. Because she had been going to the doctors a lot, and, every time they just said, oh, it's, we don't really know what it is, just go home, take some Tylenol, if it gets worse, come back. So, not great on the doctor's part, but at the same time, it is doctors, and so she was a little pissed, I guess, that he wasn't really, fully on board with, fully involved and really trying to kind of be like, oh, well, let's go, we need to get you help, and he was kind of saying, like, are you sure? I don't know about that, maybe not, maybe you should just take the Tylenol, stuff like that. Because honestly, in my situation, if I was in that situation personally, yeah, I probably would trust the doctor more than my patient or more than my partner, just because it's a doctor. They do go to school and they are supposed to know that stuff. Now, the doctor was definitely fucking up here. I'm not gonna lie. But, I would probably take the doctor's word originally if I didn't know that the doctor was fucking up. Yeah, you can be in a lot of pain, but sometimes it really is just nothing. Sometimes it is gas or some shit like that, which is what they told her. It wasn't that. Obviously her part of her reproductive tract had exploded. So yeah, not very good. But yeah, Gus was just kind of doing that, blah, 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 whatever, right? It didn't work out great, and it was a lot for him, and he kind of handled it not the best. Probably not the best boyfriend in that situation. You probably should be a little more comforting and stuff like that. He was a little bit tired of it, done with it. It's a lot of strain, like I said. So she got surgery eventually and ended up all right. Now, what happened after this is their relationship was dicey, to say the least, I guess. So eventually it was going, nobody really liked each other anymore. Like, the relationship was just kind of dying out. It had been like 3 years or something, which happens. Long-term relationships, unless you really, really like the person, it is really, really hard to maintain. It's going to always feel like one person is putting in a lot of effort at one point, then they're not going to be putting in any, and the other person is, and, back and forth, and it's not fun. It ends up being one-sided. It ends up being frustrating, and, stuff like that. So eventually they ended their relationship, which is okay. Now, moving forward, eventually she would try and get back together with Gus, or she at least suggested, like, oh, hey, maybe we should get back together. I'm kind of made a mistake. Maybe I don't want to do that. I think we should get back together, blah, blah, blah. And Gus pretty much just said, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I don't think that's a good idea. And we would just end up back here. And that's a fair point to make. Honestly, it's definitely hard getting, broken up with and stuff like that originally. And there is a point in time where you think, man, like, if this person, said they wanted me back, I'd probably, go really quick. But you kind of have to use that more logical part of your brain and just think, well, yeah, we did break up, but maybe it was for the better, maybe it was, maybe it really was that bad. Maybe it's just not a good idea, and I don't think it's going to work out. So he did that. And yeah, that was kind of that. However, eventually Sabrina would go ahead and make a video talking about Gus and the ectopic pregnancy. Now, does she ever really mention Gus? I don't think so. But, it's definitely implied. We definitely all know what's going on. And, she kind of makes Gus seem not the best. Not does she, it's obviously, it's a hard video to watch because she went through a lot, and you can't take that away from her. At the end of the day, she went through a lot of traumatic stuff. When you have literally something inside of you that explodes, that's fucking traumatic. Yes, it's a medical thing. Yes, it's a physical thing. Like, yeah, you want to go get it taken care of. But after you get it taken care of, that shit sticks in your brain. There's trauma with that. And you need therapy and stuff. And so they did go to therapy. They went to therapy for that, therapy for their relationship that was falling apart that eventually didn't work out. And just stuff like that. Not good. The therapy didn't really work out, which sometimes it doesn't. And, obviously a lot of trauma still with her because it's hard. Not only did she lose essentially a child, but she also had a part of her body explode. So a pretty terrible situation for a pregnancy, especially your first pregnancy. She went through a lot of shit, okay? Definitely a lot of shit. Now, why am I talking about this? Because if you go and you find this video and you find stuff like that, why am I talking about it now? Well, I found out about all of this recently, watching Paymoneywubby's stream. I think it was last week. And yeah, he brought Gus on. Gus Johnson went ahead and gave his statement, which made sense. So we kind of got both sides of the story recently, towards the end of last week. And yeah, so we now kind of have an idea of what is going on. And a lot of people after the video that Sabrina made Gus's life has been a little bit in a downhill spiral. Now, I'm not saying that's because he's like super depressed because of the breakup or anything like that. A lot of people have been calling him an abuser. He abused her. That's what the story sounds like. And I don't really know if Sabrina has like furthered those claims. I guess she said she felt scared and stuff like that. Like she didn't really have a choice. But is Gus an abuser is kind of what's come up. Now, while I could sit here and say, yeah, Gus is an abuser, blah, 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 like a lot of other people out there on the internet, I don't actually think Gus is an abuser. Now, this is where I'm going to get controversial because I'm conflicting a lot of people here. I don't think Gus is an abuser. Did he do some shitty things in this situation that he probably shouldn't have done? Yes. Did he handle it in the best way possible? No. Should he maybe have talked about the abortion situation a little more? Maybe closer to the pregnancy, closer to the abortion, stuff like that. Yeah. He probably should have had another go over and, probably should have been a little nicer. Probably should have been a little bit more like, yeah, okay, I definitely see your point, but, we really can't go through with this, but, at least hear out some of her hypotheticals and stuff like that. I think he definitely should have done that, but does that make him an abuser? Did he leave her no choice? No, not really. Did he hit her in any way? Was there any physical violence? No, not at least not that anybody knows of. And the abuse is emotional, is what a lot of people are saying. However, I don't think it was emotional abuse. I think Gus went through a lot with that. I think it was a big shock to him. It was something he didn't want to deal with, and it was hard. It was really hard on him, and I think sometimes that can make people act in ways that, maybe they wouldn't typically act. Maybe he was a little more aggressive. Maybe he was a little angry, stuff like that, and like his tone and the way he was talking. And maybe a little neglectful towards the end, just because he didn't want to, because it was a lot and it wasn't a situation that he wanted to deal with. And while that's some shitty stuff to do, it isn't really abuse. He did leave her choices. He did say, if you do want to keep the baby, you can leave. I'm going to break up with you. But, he didn't it's not like he was like, well, you can't break up with me, but you can't have the baby and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And, sure, she broke down crying a few times, but it's emotional, especially when you're having a baby, hormones and stuff. You're going to be emotional like that. What are some other issues? Sorry about that noise, by the way. That was my chair. What are some other issues regarding this stuff? I don't know. It's a lot. I think it was a lot for Gus. And he's really gone through hell the last 6 months. Another Eddie, his podcast co-host or whatever, has also walked out on him. He didn't really comment on anything about Eddie. He just kind of said he wishes him the best. Deep down inside, something definitely happened between them as well, probably over this situation. I'm not sure, and Eddie just might have not taken his side. And, deep down there is probably some resentment for that, especially the way that he just said, yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I wish him the best in his future projects, but that's really all I want to say. As a guy like that tries to keep a good, outside appearance, when I really dislike somebody, chances are I will say, okay, yeah, that's whatever. That's whatever. Just, I wish you the best in the future, But yeah, I'm not going to say any more than that. So yeah, Gus's life has kind of been a spiral. He's got accusations now against him of him being an abuser, an emotional abuser, which is not good. Obviously nobody wants that on them. Not only is that, ruining his career at the moment, being a public figure, but it is, it's also, it affects public life, or not public life. It affects private life too. It's definitely difficult because you've got people in your family that are going to see that and they're going to think, oh shit, and you're going to have to see them. And that's, that has an effect, along with friends, along with, anybody out there. It can even affect your relationships and stuff moving forward, because if it's out there publicly that you're potentially an abuser, I mean, that looks really bad, especially if you aren't a really bad guy. And I don't think Gus is a bad guy, nor do I really think there was any real abuse. However, if there was, or if there does end up being more information that comes out later on, and it does look like more emotional abuse, I don't know if canceling somebody over one fit of emotional abuse during an incredibly stressful situation is really justified. I think Gus at least deserves a second chance. But yeah, I don't know. He could definitely have done, stuff that it wasn't publicly put out. Maybe he did do some worse stuff, and maybe he does kind of deserve the cancel. But at the end of the day, in my eyes, no one really deserves to get canceled. Nobody really deserves their whole entire career to be ripped away unless you've done something truly terrible. Unless you've done something truly, truly, really bad, I don't think your whole career deserves to be ripped away over accusations of potential emotional abuse. I think that's a little far. So yeah, it's a lot to take in. I know that this was a more serious video. I do recommend you guys go ahead and check out the video from Sabrina, as well as check out Gus Johnson's statement from Paymoneywubby's stream. I think it would be a really good idea to just see both sides for yourself and kind of form your own opinion, because I'm obviously kind of siding with Gus. However, I do think that Sabrina has a very fair point, and she has gone through a lot of trauma, and that is, something that is not cool. And so, yeah, definitely don't go hate her or anything. Don't go spread hate on her. But also just don't go spread the hate towards Gus. Just let it work itself out. Honestly, that's what I would do. I'm just kind of trying to be a narrator and hopefully get more people on the situation and forming their own opinions, and try and lay it out and play both sides a little bit, which I don't really love to play both sides because it feels a little wrong. But, I am kind of playing both sides here. I don't think Gus is an abuser. However, I do think that the girl did go through a lot of shit. And, that's definitely hard. So they both have they're both not innocent, but they're both not guilty of anything. It's a really hard, thing to make a definitive answer on, especially at this point in time. So with that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy this video despite it being serious. I hope you guys check out both of the statements, try and learn both sides of the story before you make any crazy claims. Thank you guys so much for watching. It means a lot to me, as always. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you hit that like button as well as that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 500 by the end of the year, and I really think we can do it, especially with this pace. So let's keep it up. As always, though, I really do appreciate you guys watching again. I know I said it before, but it really does mean a lot to me. As always, have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you guys later. Goodbye.